Hi, my name is Ken Stone. If this is our first time together, it's an honor to be with you. I'm excited to be exploring the very important topic of integration this week in our time together. It's kind of two different angles on the same theme, or two different perspectives, I guess I should say. On the one hand, we've got our third installment in our series on empaths happening today. What's the third step? It's all about integration. On the other hand, we've got the solstice coming up next week, and there's really this unique opportunity. Do I want to say it's a unique opportunity? I guess what I want to say is there's an enhanced opportunity to be doing some big spiritual work right now. And perhaps you've been noticing that over the last number of months as we've been leading here into the solstice. And the key underscoring point to this, of course, is integration. I've been thinking about how to communicate about the theme of integration with you from kind of a different perspective. And I want to dive in here. But before I do, I'm noticing we already have folks that are saying hi and somebody ringing a doorbell. I'm going to have to not respond to the doorbell because I'm here with you. Angelica is saying hi. Sue is saying hi. And Judy, great to be with all of you and everyone who's joining us here. If you want to check in, whether you're on YouTube or on Twitter or on Facebook, you can say hi in the comments section. It'll come through if you're watching on the live stream. I'll respond to you, interact with you, respond to any questions you have, etc. And if you're interacting through comments on the replay, I welcome those as well, and we'll respond to you in writing in the comments section. Okay, so what I want to do is see if I can't illustrate the impact of integration and how we perceive integration as human beings. And I'm going to turn to my little sketch pad here for just a moment to illustrate this. So on the one hand, let's say over here we have a tree. And this tree has a trunk and a root system. And it has some branches and some smaller branches. Looks a little bit more like a cactus, doesn't it? And on these smaller branches are leaves. Okay. And let's just say that we've got leaves on all these branches. Okay. And over here, we've got a human being like this. So the question is, what is the fully integrated tree expressing as? And it's kind of a trick question because the fully integrated tree is fully integrated in its state. We could say it's resonating in its wholeness exactly as it is. It's already integrated. It's not having an experience of separation, in other words, of the illusion of separation. And so if we looked at the tree from our perspective and we looked over here, we might say, oh, here's evidence of this tree's integration. You know, if we zoom in, here's a branch and it has these leaves on it. And those leaves right there, there's the sign of integration, right? Here it is. Look at it. Wow. This is so exciting. This tree is clearly integrated. Or someone else may look at it and say, well, if we dig down here, here's the ground. If we dig down with a shovel and we set aside this dirt and we discover there are roots down here and the roots are a certain diameter, the tree is integrated. And my point is we could measure the circumference of the trunk and we could say, oh, that's an integrated tree. My point is that from our perspective as human beings over here we are with glasses on, we think that it's about this, or it's about this, or it's about this, and I'm speaking metaphorically because really when it comes to integration, we're looking at ourselves. We want to know, what is it about me that means that I'm integrated? How can I measure whether or not I'm integrated or the degree to which I'm integrated? And if we look at the tree is already fully integrated just the way it is. But maybe we can't perceive that because we're still operating from a dominant perspective of separation. What's my point with this? If we get caught up with the mechanics of, or the here's what we need to do to discover and experience our integration. Let's flip back to the drawing. Maybe I should just leave it open. What we're doing is we're operating from a thinking perspective. We're saying, oh, here are some ideas about what integration is going to look like. Or maybe we're saying integration feels like this. But in both of these cases, it is a projection of what we imagine in contrast to the experience that we're having. Whereas if we're in a being state, that is to say, if we're in our hips resonating, just as the tree is resonating, then we are being in our integrated wholeness. And that experience is very different. And the tree gives us a wonderful insight into that integrated expression because, of course, it goes through all of these different forms of expression. I mean, if it's like the tree that I drew, hopefully it's a more complete expression of that tree than I'm capable of drawing, maybe ever, but certainly quickly with a sketch. It has a full canopy, but only during the summer. In the fall, the leaves turn colors and fall away. And if we became focused on, well, is that a loss of integration? The tree is integrated all the time. The tree is always whole. Well, as human beings, we get caught into the same dynamic. What does this mean? What would it mean if I were integrated? The point is, we're having an experience of the gift of divine presence. And what is the gift of divine presence? Well, means lots of different things, right? One of the gifts of divine presence might be these leaves here on this branch, or this branch right here, or this branch. And in fact, it's the entirety of the tree. It's not just this part or this part of the tree or this part or any particular cell. It's the entirety of the tree. And so it is with us as human beings. It's the entirety of our experience. And here's the point. It's not just the entirety of our experience, it's the entirety of our experience in our wholeness. And so there are a couple of things that start to fall away when we begin experiencing ourselves as whole. So if we come at this from the perspective of being an empath, if we approach wholeness from that perspective, let me say this differently. If we open to an experience of wholeness, and being an empath is one of our innate gifts, then we're having an experience of our wholeness, including those empathic experiences of the world at large, but they're integrated now rather than that unintegrated exploration that we talked about last week and the week before. And here's kind of the point about the integration experience. In our integrated experience is the raw expression of the unknown divine, meaning there's no way for us to know exactly what it is ahead of time. We can evaluate things, whether experiences, whether or not they're in integration. And I suggested this in my newsletter earlier today as a function of whether or not, let's say, we're having an experience of dissonance or sustaining resonance. But ultimately, it's that transition between, let's say, a drama-filled dynamic and separation to, relatively speaking, a drama-free dynamic in wholeness. It's sort of, I don't mean relatively speaking, it is actually completely drama-free. It's kind of boring by comparison. But then there's this paradox: as we're integrating, things start coming up and showing up as experiences of dissonance. Okay, I don't want to overwhelm. I realize I'm tossing around lots of different ideas here, and I want to try to keep this very simple. I've probably already failed in my mission, but let me just revisit it for a moment. Integration, the integrated experience of you is just like looking at or experiencing a tree, which is always having an experience of full integration, because the tree does not experience itself, others, or the divine as separate. So the tree is always having an experience of wholeness. And the tree goes through many different expressions over the span of its life, right? It's a seed, it germinates, it's a stalk, it roots down, the trunk grows, the branches grow, the canopy expands, etc. And then maybe that changes depending on the time of year and the type of tree. As human beings, as we come to an experience of our integration, what we're coming to is an experience of every aspect of our being expression and presence in a state of alignment with the divine and with itself, and also in a state of resonance with itself and with every other aspect of its expression. So everything is operating as it's meant to operate. And if we go back to the tree, it offers us a simple example that's difficult for us, I think, sometimes as human beings to accept. We look at a tree and we think, oh, yeah, it's a tree. It's no big deal. But if you think about all the components of the tree, the roots drawing water out of the soil, how that water travels up through the trunk and out into the branches and the leaves, and then the synthesis of energy through the sun on the leaves, and all of these things. But the tree isn't creating any of it through a thought process. It's simply being. And there we see this beautiful invitation to integration for us as human beings. We have an opportunity to be. And it's, at the end of the day, simple and essential to support that experience of integration. All right, I want to close my eyes for just a minute. I want to say hi to anyone else who's checking in. Yanya's saying hi. Nima's checking in. Hello to both of you. Grateful you're here along with everyone else in the circle. I got so excited about the tree imagery. I hope that I was able to communicate the simplicity of the experience of wholeness. We look at a tree and we see it. We look at ourselves and we start seeing all the things that show up from the perspective of separation. It looks complicated. But in the end, it's not complicated. The experience of integration is every aspect of your being presence, your physical body, your mind, your cells, your thoughts, every other part of your life, everything in a state of alignment and resonance with itself, each of the smallest aspects with itself, with every other part of you, and with the divine. And even though we think this isn't the case, we don't have to create that experience of integration through our thinking. We don't have to feel it into existence any more than the tree needs to think itself into existence or feel itself into existence or think or feel itself into its wholeness. It's confusing. I get that. There's lots of compelling evidence that what I'm saying isn't true. But I assure you, the integrated experience of who you are is so calm, simple, and whole. And what we're going to do for the duration of our time together today is we're going to open into a transmission just around integration to support that process that is naturally happening in every other part of our lives. That process that is, to my perspective, really powerfully amplified energetically by this transition into the solstice. And the solstice, of course, is this coming Monday on the 21st of December. And so when we take time to reflect, to meditate, to drop into a deeper state of being, when we open up to the embodied divine within, We avail ourselves of that experience of our complete integration. And in this case, the experience of complete integration supports integration. And we don't have to think about it. You don't have to hold an intention in your mind. In fact, if you try to hold an intention in your mind, that actually could create a little bit of a disruption. Be like trying to tell a tree, I need you to hold a thought in your mind. The tree's going to say, why do I have to think about anything? I just want to be. And if you ask the tree, well, do you have thoughts while you're being? The tree says, of course I have thoughts, but my thoughts are not focused around my being. They're a byproduct of them. And so it is for us as well as human beings. We can allow our thoughts to express without requiring our thoughts to lead us into the experience of wholeness. All right, lots of ideas, trying to keep it simple. Let's turn to an experience now and do a little bit of meditating together and then open into deeper transmission and see where that leads us. I'm glad you're here. It's an honor to sit with you, especially now. It's always true. Every week it feels like a big deal to me. It feels like an especially big deal right now. This December solstice that we're about to move through is incredibly powerful. And if you want some outward evidence of that, just look at your life or look at the world at large. Look at what's been going on over the last couple of months, over the last year. As we come into a deeper experience of resonance, the remaining dissonance appears to become more pronounced. Pretty clearly sums up the experience we're having individually and collectively on this planet, wouldn't you say? And what is leading us into that experience of greater resonance? The divine, by whatever name, expressing in, through, and as each one of us. And what is that experience supporting? A deeper experience of our integrated wholeness, which is who we really are. Unlike the tree, we get to dance with the illusion of separation. And because of that, we get to have an experience of being fully integrated, or what some people refer to as being enlightened. But we don't have to hold out some magical word or something that seems a distant goal that's maybe difficult to achieve. Instead, let's just open into being presence together. Let's open into a deeper experience of embodied wholeness right now. I invite you to close your eyes and begin breathing in and out through the nostrils if that's comfortable for you, with your palms to the sky. Set everything else aside if you would, please. Especially, please don't operate a motor vehicle or heavy equipment of any sort. That's true not just now, but anytime we're together. You may have had the experience. One minute you think I'm talking about something, and the next minute you hear me say, okay, return the universal plug, and I'm going to bring this transmission to a close. Whoop, what happened in the meantime? Did I go to sleep? Lots of people think they've gone to sleep. My perspective on it is that we're doing such deep work that your conscious mind has a difficult time staying aware on a conscious level. And so it's that experience of going to sleep. But rest assured, there's deep, deep work going on. Something profound is happening. And that connection that's enlivening within you is between you and yourself and the divine. That's what's being enlivened. It's not something I'm doing to you or for you, or that I'm an intention I'm holding. We're going to do something together. It's not like that at all. It's the divine expression as me enlivening the divine expression within you. And one of the natural byproducts of that is a deeper experience of your embodied divine presence, that divine resonance that flows from that. And one of the byproducts of that is an experience of wholeness. It's very difficult to articulate all of this with words. Oh, Susan has a question here. I'm going to put this up. I'm not laughing at what you're saying. I'm giggling because I can appreciate why this is true. Susan says, this week has been one disaster after another. So, can I resonate into the dissonance? Yeah, you can, Susan. The part that makes me smile or giggle about that isn't your experience of a disaster after another. It's that when that happens, it can feel a little bit like stubbing one's toe or tripping over the same invisible kind of trip hazard again and again. It's never fun. It's not something I'm laughing at that level. I'm giggling because out of a personal appreciation, A, for the experience of that happening, but B, on a deeper level, because when we're doing deep integration, what we're looking for is some kind of way to go, you're doing a great job experience coming up into our lives. But often what we end up having is this kind of experience instead, and it can be very discouraging and confusing. And I just want to summarize it this way: as we move into deeper experiences of resonance, the remaining dissonance appears to become more pronounced. And maybe that's something you take on faith initially, but you'll have an experience of this over and over and over again. So you asked the question, Susan, can I resonate into the dissonance? Here's how I would say this. I mean, I suppose you can. I'm not sure I understand what you're asking though. So I'm gonna pretend I know what you're asking. What you can do is sink into the experience of resonance, of divine presence, and in that space, the dissonance is transmuted. And the way that that happens, I mean, we could call that a process of integration, a process of soul embodiment, but the way that it happens, your part in that is to feel fully whatever's coming up. You don't have to give voice to it. You don't have to name it. You don't have to talk about it. There's no way I could hear you anyway, right? Except if you type, but I literally can't hear you in my ears. You're on the other side of a computer or phone or a tablet or whatever it is you're looking at this live stream or this video on, and I'm here in my home office in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I can't hear you, right? There's no open line. So that's not there. And in a way, it's beautiful. It frees us from the illusion that that's important. You can just feel fully. When you feel fully in an embodied state, the dissonance is transmuted. What's an example of something being transmuted? A big log in a fire, a hot fire. The log is consumed. It it is transmuted, right? The log is no longer there. Maybe there's a little bit of ash that remains. So as you transmute that dissonance by sitting in the experience of resonance, you don't need to project or think or imagine or have happy thoughts or feelings. You can actually feel fully whatever's coming up in that experience of dissonance. And then from that perspective, open to whatever follows in the divine mystery. I was just starting to meditate and I got excited because I saw a few things come in. And John Owen, how wonderful to see you here as well, John. Glad you are joining us. It is such an honor to be with you. Big hug, a big virtual hug to you, John. And glad you're here. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to connect. All right. Lots of love to everyone. It's such an honor to sit here with you. I'm going to see if I can't stay disciplined and close my eyes now. And let's do a little bit of divine connecting breath. We'll open into some meditation, then we'll drop into transmission. And if you've got some dissonance stirring up, just to let yourself feel that. Nobody else is going to be aware, right? You can cry, you can sob, you can scream, you can swear, you can be silent, you can giggle. Eventually, what opens in that experience as we integrate deeper and deeper is resonance. And I had somebody email me and ask me, what does resonance mean, Ken? It means whatever it means to you, right? Sometimes resonance to me means, like this past weekend, I watched a live stream, or actually it was a replay of last year's live stream of Handel's Messiah from, I think it's Trinity Church on Wall Street in New York City. Oh my goodness, I cried through the first part of it. It was so moving, so beautiful to listen to this beautiful music that resonates so deeply with me. But you might say, well, I don't like Handel's Messiah. That's not resonance to me. That's the beauty of the word resonance from my perspective. You get to define what it means to you. It might be a meal, right? You might be hungry. You might have not had enough food. So resonance might be an experience of food or water, or resonance might be a hug or a sense of peace or a calm that flows throughout every part of your body, and not because you're holding a thought in your mind or a feeling in your heart. It originates at some much deeper level of your being. From my perspective, it comes from the divine. The divine expression is you. All right, eyes closed, breathing in and out through the nostrils, palms to the sky, setting everything else aside. Deep breath in and hold. As you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before in this day, all the way out to the count of 8. And as you release this breath, just let go of all the thoughts that have been dominant in your mind of late. Doesn't matter what they are. Maybe the thing that's dominating in your mind is how excited you are for fill in the blank, some wonderful thing that's coming up. Let that go. Or maybe you've been worried about something or whatever. You know what's going on in your mind. And why are we letting go of this? Because when we let go of the dominant experience we've been having at every level of in our being, we make more room. We create a blank slate. We make more room for the divine to express more fully in, through, and as you on every level of your being. And that expression, whatever it is extraordinary. Another deep breath in and hold. As you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since we gathered a week ago. And if this is your first time since back to the beginning of the year, let's say, all the way out to the count of 8. And with this, releasing the thoughts and the feelings, the emotions that have been dominant of late, all the way out to the count of 8. Another deep breath in and hold. And as you release this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since you were born, all the way out to the count of 8. Now, thoughts, feelings, and the dominant way of being of late. Just release all of that. Another deep breath in and hold. And as you begin releasing this breath now, letting go of everything that has come before since the inception of your soul, all the way out to the count of 8. And with this now, releasing every aspect of you into the divine mystery. If visualizing that in a more specific way is helpful, you could say, into the arms of the divine. Place every part of your body, your mind, your being, and your life into the arms of the divine. Someone commented on a video from earlier in the year on YouTube and said, "Divine what?" And I haven't responded yet, but I will. Divine presence is what I'm talking about when I say the divine. Some people would call that God. Other people might call it the nameless one. There are lots of different names. Perhaps you have a spiritual or religious tradition with a specific divine avatar, Jesus or Muhammad, or there are some traditions that have many different divine avatars. That's what I mean when I say the divine. With your eyes still closed, notice that cue intuitively in your mind's eye, in your imagination, that cue of breath in front of your face. It serves you exclusively. You breathe in, breath comes in, it asks no questions, serves fully, and then as you exhale, there's a natural balance there. Have you ever tried to breathe in more than you breathe out? It's sort of like holding your breath longer than you think you can. At some point, you'll pass out. It's like the body wants to come back into balance. The breath is a wonderful way of seeing that balance or experiencing that balance. And it's also a wonderful way of experiencing much more. Notice in the cue of breath, this color beginning to infuse itself. Might be a fixed color or dynamic. If you're assigning a color, maybe just pick something that's not normally present in your body, except maybe in your eyes. And then with the next breath, just be with the breath from the perspective of the color. It comes in through the nostrils and towards the crown, and then down into the lungs. And if you sit in your lungs in that perspective and just move time forward a little bit more quickly, you'll notice that color, it's like a vector. It illuminates the pathway of breath moving into the body. First, it lines the lungs, and then it migrates through the lining of the lungs into the bloodstream, and then eventually you can see that color infusing itself through every single cell of your entire body. It's a visual representation for this very simple statement. And notice how you might feel a physical resonance or sense resonance in other ways. Not everyone feels it physically, but sometimes there's a sense of knowing or a sensation that's not physical. Lots of different ways to come to it. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. Notice it's pretty quick today. That resonance comes through on lots of different levels. Intellectually, sure, of course, oxygen, lungs, bloodstream, cells. Okay, that makes sense. And intuitively, you might see it visually or know it or hear it or sense it in all these different ways. The breath is becoming you, and you are becoming the breath. When you're ready, you can shift your perspective from inside the lungs to outside the body and maybe even back off a distance until you can perceive the entire planet all in your visual screen. Still eyes closed, breathing in and out through the nostrils, palms to the sky, etc. Just breathing at whatever tempo and depth feel right to you. Notice the breath of the planet surrounds the entire planet and it serves everyone. First, notice how it serves you. Actually, at the level of that cue of breath, it's just for you. That breath ultimately is coming from the breath of the planet, and then it serves you. And then notice how that's also true for anyone else you might be sharing your dwelling with, or your neighbors' neighbors. And just notice that ripple of awareness traveling out, the breath of the planet serving everyone eventually. And notice how that breath of the planet in the cue for you and every other person, it's still all the same breath. And so we can say with each breath that you take, you are connected to every single person on the planet. And notice how the breath of the planet doesn't just serve people, it serves animals and insects and water and fish and plants, everyone and everything. We can say with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything. You may even feel these little waves or bumps of resonance in all the ways that you felt earlier when I made this statement. The breath is becoming you and you are becoming the breath with each of these incremental observations. And notice how the breath of the planet becomes ultimately the breath of the cosmos. For at the very edge of space, that breath touches the infinite vast space and in turn every other aspect of the cosmos ultimately. And so we can say with each breath you are connected to everyone and everything throughout all of creation, including that energy that underwrites everything else, that expresses as everything and everyone, the divine, a light perhaps that in your perceptual view originates maybe on the other side of the cosmos. But in this perspective, comes closer with each breath that you draw in until eventually it's close enough that you can perceive those twin frequencies, the divine itself, and the frequency of perfect health intertwined such that there is no separating one from the other. That light eventually connecting in to each of the smallest aspects of you, and with it an invitation to return to your natural state of alignment and resonance, the artifacts of dissonance appearing to fall away and gather at that universal drain. The divine is becoming you, and you are becoming the divine. For whatever remains in separation, I invite you to remove the universal plug. I'll do the same. Let's begin. There's always some level of relief for me when we open into transmission, because the role of language at this point, if it ever had a role in our time together, is gone. Anything that I might say, first of all, you might have absolutely no awareness of it whatsoever. Plenty of people have listened to transmissions many, many times and just drop out every single time. They never hear what was said. It's a wonderful reminder that hearing what's said is not where the work is taking place. There is nothing to understand intellectually. And whatever story or narrative I might have about what's happening, or even around integration or anything else, does not even come close to accurately describing what's really going on or how things actually work because it's all limited by two compelling limitations. One, the limits of language, and the second, the limits of my perceptual view. But when language drops, we can open to the depth of divine presence, and with it, that invitation to feel and express fully whatever is coming up. If that thought is occurring to you, well, what do I do now? Just remind yourself with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything, the divine, the light, the twin frequencies, the artifacts of dissonance gathering and then appearing to leave through that universal drain, the resonance spreading throughout the entirety of your being, and whatever feelings are coming up physically, emotionally, or otherwise, to be with and to allow to express. We do so many things, do so many things to remain busy that we can avoid sinking in and being present at depth, at that place where we first encounter and experience divine presence internally and all the integration that follows. To whatever degree that you are comfortable doing so, I invite you to be fully present with all of that now. If you're holding on to an intention, I just want to share this image that keeps coming up for me. Hold in your awareness a sapling of a tree. Now imagine that that tree, that sapling, is a maple tree, but it's holding an intention to be the best oak tree ever. What happens? Can you feel the constriction? Maybe it stops. It's just a thought experiment. The tree can't hold an intention like that. That is an artifact of separation. Now, whatever you think you are, however extraordinary or however broken, or anything in between or beyond either of those expressions, there is a truth of who you are that you might be entirely unaware of. But that you can open to the experience of and be fully if only you get out of the way. And even if you just do that for the duration of our time together, just drop all your intentions, the active expression of all your dreams, all your imaginings, all your aspirations, all the corrective measures you want to implement, the problems you want to fix, etc., etc., etc. Just let go of all of that and open to the being. It's like taking an elevator down from the top of your head, thinking, 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 then into the chest, feeling, 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 and then whoops, below the sternum into the unknown, deeper and deeper, finally into the hips, being, being, being. And what is that being? Who knows? Let it consume you. Let it express fully. It will. It is only resonant. And it's not the resonance of a thought or a feeling or even of being. It's the resonance of divine presence, who comes into form from existence into being and even beyond existence. It is the container through which everything else expresses. All of that as you. Don't even try to think about it. Just open up to the being and beyond. There we go. And then feel fully whatever comes up. Feel it fully. And your mind might be thinking, well, and then what? And then with each breath, you are connected to everyone and everything throughout all of creation. the light, the twin frequencies, connecting in at each of the smallest aspects of you, the invitation, the artifacts of dissonance appearing to fall away, the more complete expression, the divine becoming you and you are becoming the divine. The river is flowing. Beautiful. Beautiful. I invite you to continue with your eyes closed and we'll continue being together. I'm going to start um, transitioning a little bit. We'll begin returning that universal plug here in just a few moments. I also want to share a few things with you and respond to any questions or reflections that are coming up before we wrap up for today. And I want to invite you to participate in a solstice day transmission. And I'm going to share with you how you can make that happen, if that's something you're interested in doing. Okay, when you're ready, I invite you to begin returning that universal plug. I'll do the same as I begin bringing this transmission to a close. If this is your first time, I'm not trying to close our time out together. Actually would invite you to stay with your eyes closed a little bit longer before you even open them up. If you have something you want to reflect on or share or ask about, there's a few more minutes still. So just take your time and then I'll open my eyes here in a moment and start responding to any questions that are coming up. And then I want to share with you a couple of things. Okay, plug all the way in, transmission to a close now. I'm going to open my eyes up. It's so beautiful to sit with you. I can feel the resonance in the circle, and it feels really powerful and amazing. One of the ways I experience it is that my hands and feet buzz. That's how I'm aware of what's going on. It's one of the ways that I'm aware of what's going on when we're in transmission. And when we're not in transmission, those feedback mechanisms are one of the ways that the divine communicates to me. So I'm in a deeply resonant embodied state right now. And as I go through my life, then that feedback is supporting or helping me be aware of that path of resonance in everything that I do. And so if it starts to fade, oops, maybe I'm not on the right path with something. So there are so many ancillary benefits of these experiences. I can't even begin to articulate them all. The thing I wanted to do is just share with you with a brief link here, which I'll post in the comments. And I meant to set it up as a link you could see on the screen too. Well, it'll be in the comments. I'm going to put it in here so you can see it. Let's see if I could do it successfully. I've got a new thing that I've been working on for the last 6 or 8 weeks, and I wanted to share it with you. Basically, it includes everything that just about everything I've ever taught. I've taught a lot of different programs over the years, And I continue teaching and facilitating, certainly with this live stream just about every Wednesday. This is free, of course. This is on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter and maybe eventually on LinkedIn and who knows what other platforms this will be simulcast on in the future. And I'll continue to make this available. And I'm honored to be with you here, of course. Absolutely honored to be here. I think we do important work here every week. And there are some other things that I do as well that in the past have been offered as individual paid programs. And I had this dream at the beginning of November. I actually woke myself out of the dream because it was an answer to a question I've been asking God for at least a year and a half, maybe longer. Well, how am I meant to serve? And the answer was so funny. It was so simple. The answer is 97. And it was so obvious and not all at the same time. I literally had to wake myself up so I wouldn't forget it. But here's the 97. It's $97 for everything. And in the past, what I've done is I've broken up programs and they've had prerequisites and it all makes sense based on how it's taught. But you had to take this program and you had to pay for that, then you had to take the next one and they rolled out at a specific pace and all of this. Didn't have to take it. I'm just saying if you wanted to progress for it. And I taught about spiritual mastery, experience the divine within in 3 different programs: igniting resonance, amplifying resonance, and embodying resonance. And then I taught in spiritual messenger mastery, discover and share and explore your unique gifts or how God expresses through you in the unique ways, your unique gifts, your message, and your mission with spiritual messenger mastery. And I taught that with a couple of different programs: messenger mastery and embodied messenger mastery. And now I'm offering all of those programs for $97 a month, plus the resonance community, which is what's happening on Monday. It's the third Monday of every month. I do a transmission, and there's generally a theme. We just started a theme on your intuitive guidance system, which is what I was just talking about, my hands and feet buzzing. Started that last month in November, but there's no way we're continuing that in December because the solstice is on Monday. So we're going to do a solstice transmission. And for example, another thing that's included with the Resonance Institute membership is the Deep Dive virtual retreat series. Tomorrow, I'm doing a deep dive and would love for you to participate. It's an absolutely extraordinary group of people. We're on Deep Dive 20. We've done 19 prior deep dives. We'll be together in virtual circle on a Zoom call tomorrow, starting at noon Eastern, probably for 3 or 4 hours. And then there's a bonus Q&A on Saturday. That's included in membership as well. And as is Sanctuary, which is every Tuesday. I've been doing this weekly transmission. I call it the Sanctuary. Geez, since January of 2011, almost 10 years now. I don't know how many hundreds of hours of transmissions are in there. Anyway, the point is, all this is included for 97 a month. I've never done anything like this before. It's not a limited time thing. I mean, look, it's going to be available next month and the month after and the month after. In fact, I'm kind of done with the whole, jump through this hoop or do this thing or take action fast or just all of these things just really don't resonate in the core of who I am. And so I'm so grateful for the divine guidance that I received to offer everything in this way. You can stay a member as long as you like. Quit whenever you want. There's an annual membership if you want to save some money and get a couple extra bonuses. Anyway, you can learn more about it. There's a link I posted. Just go check that out. And if you're listening to this and you can't see the link, you can go to kenwstone.com/resonance-institute-membership. You can't find it anywhere in the navigation on the site because I haven't really launched it officially yet, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to share that with you today for anyone who is interested in doing some deeper work. There's a lot of structure through the programs. that are there, all these programs that I've taught in the past, all that's included. Got an email from somebody I shared this with who said, "Hey, what does it cost me to do these programs on top of my membership?" The answer is nothing. The membership includes everything. So anyway, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Let's not do Q&A today about it. I'm going to do a monthly Q&A for members on the first Monday of every month. So we've got our first Resonance Institute members call coming up the first Monday of the new year. Lots of cool stuff there. Anyway, wanted to share that with you. If it resonates, it'd be great fun to have you join all the various circles and explore at a deeper level. Really open up to this deep integrated experience of wholeness, and honored to have a chance to share all that with you. I don't know what's happening here. My camera just went out. That's when that's when the solstice transmission will be live on Monday. And you can always listen to replays. It's whether you can participate live or not. By the way, if you've only ever done live transmission with me, like through these live streams, I would really encourage you to listen again to a replay and notice how different it is. Over the years, so many people have joined live programs, paid programs that I've offered, but then because of time zones or work schedule or other commitments, they're never able to participate live, but they're always listening to the replay and having this experience that's deeply profound. So um, I'd invite you to explore that as well. It's a function of the divine, your relationship with the divine. Excuse me. Okay, let me see if there's anything else coming up. John, so fun to see you, man. I guess I'm not actually seeing you, but you're seeing me and I'm seeing a picture of you and I've got it there on the screen. So good to hear from you in this way. Such an honor to be with all of you. Thank you so much for the chance to sit here, to resonate, to explore with you. Can't wait to be with you again next Wednesday. I'll do a live stream next Wednesday as well. A couple days after the solstice, couple days before Christmas. And then I think I'll do a live stream the following Wednesday as well. And if you want to join me in the Resonance Institute membership tomorrow, we've got a deep dive. What's our theme tomorrow? We're talking about the role of story in consciousness and transmuting your story. Wow, that's going to be a powerful exploration. Would love for you to be part of that. Okay, bye for now. Such an honor to be with you. Much love and peace. Till we're together again soon. Bye-bye.